Good afternoon, everyone. This is Craig Reese with Hollywood Junket, and we are changing things up a little bit. Instead of an interview with someone from The Voice, we will actually be talking to one of the first contestants from the new show on Fox called Ultimate Tag. His name is Charlie White, and like I said, he was one of the first contestants that we saw on the show. And I hope you guys watch this show because I got to see it and I literally had a smile on my face the whole time I was watching it. It is just one of the neatest shows, and Charlie's in right now, so I'm going to bring him in now. It's just adult tag, but it is so much more than that. It's so great. The cast of taggers are awesome. And here's Charlie right now. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm going great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And man, I was just talking about the show a little bit. It was not what I was expecting. It was so much fun.
Me either. I don't know what I was getting into till I got there.
Well, that is my first question. How did you get involved with the show? How did you hear about it? Did you have to audition? Like, what was that process?
Yeah, it was interesting. I'm just a beach handball player, and I was training all the time. I was going to all these different boot camps. I live down in Santa Monica right now. And ultimately, it was one of the trainers at one of these training sessions. They were seeing me all around, and I was just kind of going crazy, trying to get in really good shape. I felt like the USA team was like right at the edge. And so they gave my name to one of the casting directors, and that kind of kicked off the process. And from there, they did have a few auditions. They called them combines at the Tempest. I think they just really wanted to make sure that we weren't going to mess it up on live TV. So yeah. So it was fun, man. I had so much fun. I can't even tell you. Like when we got there too, I really didn't know what I was getting into because we were just doing a couple Skype interviews, and then we showed up at the actual production, and it was so massive, and the scale of it, and the arena, and like walking through these doors. I was blown away, and I got so excited.
Yeah, like the set is crazy. And
Yeah.
I know they all shot over a couple weeks because each day they'd have to like redo the different sets for each shot. So like what did you do during the downtime between each day?
Well, I mean, they basically kept us in secret. We weren't really allowed to see anyone else compete,
Hmm.
and I didn't really know what I was getting into until I showed up at the course.
Yeah.
Until my time was called, obviously because there's some prize money, they didn't want anyone to have an advantage, and so I don't know. I mean, basically, you didn't know what you were doing until they kind of let you kind of walk through it real briefly. To know the rules of the game. They'd explain the rules, and then basically you were kind of kept in isolation until it was your time to come, and then you'd get backstage kind of right before, and you could hear everyone cheering and going crazy, and the lights, and you knew that you were up next, and man, it was just wild. Like it was just so much fun. Yeah,
I can't imagine. I
yeah.
just think that was so much fun. What do you think the hardest course that you had to do was?
The hardest, I think the first one was the hardest for me, only because not necessarily that it was a difficult course, only that you don't basically if you get targeted by some of these parkour runners, you're in a lot of trouble, right? And so I
Yeah,
feel like you
yeah.
kind of have a chance, right? Like basically the way you guys split up, there's three of you in the first course, three of you at the same time, one tagger, and you all run in there, and depending on how you split up, you don't really know which way they're going to go, and then it's just a
Yeah.
question of who they're going to target, which contestant. And so I felt like at that point it was a big game of chance, and so I feel like I didn't have a lot of control over who they're going to target.
Mhm.
They're gonna basically come down and how we split up, and so that one I felt like you're kind of rolling the dice a little bit, and obviously I had some strategy coming into it, but you don't really know. So the rest of them I felt like I had a little more control over, like the dome tag and the hitting the buzzer and all those types of things, just based on let's just go out there and run it. But that first
Yeah.
one, there's so much chance. It's just kind of like we don't know who the tagger is coming out the gate, and you don't know who he's gonna come after.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
mhm.
That's true.
Yeah.
That dome one looked hard though too. Like, oh man.
Dude, that was
You went for
one of my
like two and a
favorites.
half minutes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
yeah. It's
whew.
crazy. You're trying to figure it out in real time. I feel like it blew my mind. The second tagger, you're way up in the air. I think you're like 30 feet up in the air. you're in a steel cage, and I thought that the only way you could get in and out of this like steel cage were the openings. And the second
Hmm.
tagger that came through, she actually was able to slip right through the side, through the railings. It was big enough
Yeah,
for her. And when
exactly.
she did that, I couldn't believe it. I felt like my mind was like, well, I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I didn't think that was possible. I thought you were gonna have to like come around this side or that side, and then she just slipped right through, and that kind of
Yeah.
like threw me for a minute. Um, so yeah, it was interesting. And then I also felt like I could probably lose her going underneath the bottom, but then I was worried about getting tired for the third tagger, and so there's definitely some strategy in there as well.
Yeah, well, one of my questions was going to be about strategy, but I don't know that you can have so much strategy because they didn't tell you until like right before you were doing that. But
Right.
did you, even not knowing exactly what kind of course you're going to have, what was your strategy for all the races?
I think uh, I think ultimately you have to wait. For me, I just had to wait until I saw the course, and then at that point,
Yeah.
just walking the course, you kind of see what obstacles were there, what the goal was, how much time, whether it was going to be a timed event or tagging someone, and then it's kind of just like strategizing, like what does it take to win this event? And so that's kind of how it worked for me. And I was pretty lucky. I feel like everything kind of worked out the way I wanted it to.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of those things, like for the first event, it's a game of tag. It's like you don't have to, like, let's say there's a bear or a wolf chasing you. You don't have to outrun that. You just have to outrun the guy next to you, right? It's the
Yeah,
closest
yeah,
target.
yeah.
Who's the easiest target, right? So you need to you just basically, if he does target you, you got to be close to another guy and make him the target, and then you get away, right? And then in the second one, you want to stay away from everybody, right? Because you got to get to the buzzer. The goal is the buzzer. So at that point, you want him to target someone else, and then you can slip around the sides, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of just a game of strategy. It's just seeing like that space and opportunity.
Absolutely. Now, having done it, like, what advice would you give to a future contestant, or what's the biggest mistake a contestant could make on that show?
I think I think one of the biggest things is just keep a cool head, play within your abilities, and just go out there and have fun. Like, I think people made some. I saw Lisa, the women's winner, and she's super
Hmm.
fast, right? I saw her
Hmm.
competing against the Iron Giantess, and I saw her like turn back at one point and try to like juke out the Iron Giantess. I was like, that was kind of an unnecessary risk. I feel like you don't need to
Yep.
take unnecessary risk in a competition like this. The I mean, unless you want to make some highlights, right? If you feel
Yeah,
confident
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
your thing, like go for it, right? I um I definitely took some unnecessary risk. I injured myself a little bit in the very first event, trying to do some stuff. I saw the flow hurdling those big pillars, and I was like, oh, I'm
Yep.
just gonna do the same thing. And mechanically, I knew exactly what I was gonna do. And this young guy, this young parkour pro, is chasing me at full speed, and I tried to do the same thing, and I hurt my groin really bad. So I had to be a lot more strategic through the rest of the competition. I think I overextended myself just a little bit. I probably could have been fine just going, what I was comfortable with. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, yeah, I don't think a lot of the contestants had a lot of parkour background, and we didn't know that it was so much parkour was going to be involved. And so
Yeah,
going forward, if they are going to come on this show, I think that's kind of the skill set that you want, right? You want to be able to navigate those kind of obstacles. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, my final question for you, Charlie, is what skill from handball helped you most on this show?
I think, well, I mean, I'm always training, so athletically, I feel like I'm pretty versatile and
Yeah.
kind of ready for like any type of sport. And I think one of the biggest things for me was just being able to recognize like opportunities to like move and the opportunities, because you'll see throughout the season they have some amazing athletes on the show, and I think that
Mhm.
within their sport they would definitely beat me. But I think that they missed some opportunities that every now and then I would be backstage and I got to see the course right in front of me on the screen, and I could see these openings that they could have taken advantage of. And I think that despite the fact that they were like tremendous athletes in the sport, they didn't see like that opening. And then once it's gone, it's gone. You
Yeah.
have to take
Yeah.
advantage of it. Otherwise, they're gonna tag you. So I think sports in general and beach handball helped me recognize those critical moments and kind of make those like game time decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, I had a blast watching this show. I cannot wait for the rest of the season. And hopefully there's like maybe a championship coming up with all the winners. You
Dude,
know, we'll get to see you back on the show.
I would love it. I mean, I had a blast. I mean, I can't even tell you. There was like electricity in the air at the arena. I felt we came out with all the lights. I felt like we were in Tron or something. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, yes, this is amazing. And then,
No, it's my new
uh,
favorite show now. I'm loving it. So
yeah,
it was really cool to talk to you, and I really appreciate it.
yeah, it was epic. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and good luck with the rest of training,
Mhm.
and stay safe during all this time, and maybe we'll talk to you later. Maybe there's a championship show, and we'll get
Yeah,
to
if they
see you
bring
again.
us, they bring us back, man. I would definitely sign up for it. So,
That'd be so cool. So
yeah,
cool. Well,
yeah,
have a great weekend. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, later.